Thank you, Sada Ahmad, for sharing about your journey. Good evening, everybody. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces here, and it is also so exciting. Every year we see new faces attending our events, and we're just so excited that we're branching out from what used to be a really small community of Muslim attorneys into the Dallas bar legal community in general being a part of our gathering. So thank you so much for being here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Haroon Hashmi. I'm a healthcare attorney at Norton Rose Fulbright, and I'm currently the vice president of the Dallas-Fort Worth Muslim Bar Association. And today I have the great honor and privilege of introducing a good friend of mine, Dan Syed. Dan Syed currently works as in-house employment and labor counsel at AECOM, a Fortune 300 engineering and structural design company. Dan graduated from Georgetown Law School before starting his career at Jones Day. He then served as a law clerk to two federal judges, Judge Barbara Lynn of the Northern District of Texas and Judge Katharina Haynes of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit. After his clerkships, Dan was an associate at Shepard Mullen's Dallas office. He has also been an adjunct professor at SMU Law since 2018. Dan enjoys playing flag football competitively and is one of the lead organizers of the Dallas Muslim Football League. Most importantly, Dan cherishes his time with his wife, Rija, who's also graced us with her presence today, and their three sons, Noah, Zechariah, and Isaiah. Dan Syed. And he's got the best shoes also.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Dan Syed. Thank you for that kind introduction, Haroon. What a beautiful venue to host the second annual Muslim Bar Association Gala. I'm here today to talk about my journey as a lawyer and how being a Muslim in America has impacted my legal career. Today's audience has individuals at every stage of their journey, from pre-law students to attorneys with 30 or more years of experience. I hope everyone in the audience can take away something valuable, whether it be reassurance or inspiration. So for the next 15 minutes, enjoy your dessert and of course your occasional scrolling. But I'd like you to take away 3 principles that I live by. 1, do the hard work. There are no shortcuts. 2, pay it forward. Ensure things are better for those who come after you. And 3, define what success means to you. My legal career begins in the same place as any first-generation American, with my parents. My parents immigrated to New York with little else but hope. My dad worked at McDonald's and went to community college before earning his MBA in his 30s. My mom graduated from medical school in Pakistan in the 1980s. After taking 15 years off to raise me and my 2 younger brothers, Haris and Sean, she had the courage to study for her medical boards in America and eventually started her own pediatrics practice. My parents' stories exemplify what grit and toughness really look like. These experiences taught me to do the hard work, and there are no shortcuts. When I think things are hard, I remember the sacrifices they made for me just for the prospect of opportunity. Like many of us in the room, I started college pre-med. But I wanted to read about philosophy and debate politics. My parents reminded me that I negotiated everything as a kid: bedtime, what was for dinner, and especially the rules. After my philosophy professor suggested law school, I knew what I wanted to do. I began at Seton Hall Law School in Newark, New Jersey with a partial scholarship. As many of you know, the first year of law school can be an overwhelming challenge. But my discipline and hard work paid off. I was in the top 15% of my class. Success. So of course, I thought I'd be welcomed with open arms when I asked the administration to renegotiate my partial scholarship into a full ride. Not only was I told no, but an advisor asked if I should delete my role as college MSA president on my resume for summer job applications. I began to wonder, is this really the best place for me? What leverage do I have? I walked back into the dean's office and told them I had applied to a few top law schools at a transfer, but I would stay if I were granted a full scholarship. She politely declined. A few days later, Georgetown Law accepted me. Getting into Georgetown was surreal. It made me feel like my parents' sacrifices were worth it. But it wasn't all peaches and roses immediately. I had exactly 4 days to decide whether I should forego all the interviews I had earned through Seton Hall, move away from my home of 20 years, take on almost $200,000 in debt, all without a guarantee of a single interview because I had missed OCI at Georgetown. I wondered what choice would make me the most successful. I decided to chase the hope and prospect of opportunity. I tell my transfer story because resumes and bios may seem shiny and pristine, but they often don't tell the true story of someone's journey. Despite scrambling for interviews, I was offered a summer associate position at Jones Day in its Dallas office. Landing a big law job felt like a golden ticket. The entire summer was a job interview, and most of it was during Ramadan. And I'm talking the 18-hour fast in 105-degree heat variety. I had to be on all the time, whether it was coffee, lunches, or dinner and drinks. I probably answered why I wasn't eating or drinking water or drinking alcohol 100 times, along with various other questions about Islam. That summer did change my opinion on feeling like the token Muslim in so many legal settings, from law school up until that point. Unquestionably, it's an isolating and unfair experience. But I began to view the constant questions as an opportunity. I thought this might be the only time this attorney was going to interact with a Muslim lawyer, maybe in their entire career. Who knows the positive impact I could have with just a bit of patience and nuance. Perhaps this person would someday hire or help a Muslim attorney because of my actions. A decade later, I feel this sentiment is truer than ever when non-Muslim colleagues ask me my thoughts on the devastation around the world right now. After graduating, I started my career at Jones Day, but law school had put the judiciary on a pedestal for me. I desperately wanted to be a law clerk for a federal judge. That was success. But I had already applied for clerkships with over 100 judges and gotten rejected by each one. Coincidentally, Judge Barbara Lynn was set to speak at Jones Day at a networking event, and a partner concocted a plan for me to get some FaceTime with her. Of course, that idea was thwarted when dozens of lawyers swarmed her immediately after she spoke. I felt defeated and was ready to leave the event. But off to the side, 10 feet away, standing alone, was her law clerk. I decided my dad's mantra of, it's not just who you know, it's who knows you, probably still applied here. I introduced myself to Jillian and asked some questions about her career and her clerkship experience. Before I left, I let her know that I had an application pending before Judge Lynn. The next day, Judge Lynn called me to come in for an interview. To this day, there is not a single thing I have done in my career more beneficial than clerking for Judge Lynn. And I'm not just saying that because Judge is in the audience tonight. No matter where I go in the Dallas legal community, that line on my resume has opened more doors for me than I thought possible. And when Judge Lynn needs assistance deciphering a religious accommodation request from a Muslim defendant or inmate, I'm privileged to get that call. A couple of years later, in 2018, I became an adjunct professor at SMU Law School. I teach an employment law class called Addressing Social Change in the Workplace. A lot of folks ask me how I got into teaching. I was hosting a political fundraiser for a congressional candidate when I ran into an SMU law professor. I told her I was interested in teaching. She said they probably wouldn't let a third-year attorney teach, but maybe they considered it if I designed the curriculum for a brand new course and made a pitch to the dean. So, over the next few months, I did the hard work and put together a class based on cutting-edge employment issues I was seeing in practice. 6 years later, teaching is my favorite thing I do as a lawyer. I can guarantee I'm not an adjunct for the money. It allows me to build a network not just with attorneys that have more experience than me, but those who are just coming into the workforce, often with great ideas and energy. Teaching at SMU Law has also shown me that representation matters. I've had numerous Muslim students throughout the years, each letting me know I'm the only Muslim instructor they've had at any level of formal education. I'm privileged to be in the mentoring phase of my career. Paying it forward to ensure things are better for those who come after me is a core value. While I celebrate certain accomplishments of mine, like being the first lawyer in my family, I've come to believe that being the first to do something is often a product of circumstances out of your control. If you are the first to do something, your real challenge and responsibility is making sure that you're not the last to do it. Now, I may regret saying this in a crowd this large, but Ridge and I have a household rule that we never say no to mentoring asks. If a student or younger attorney emails, messages, or calls, we always respond. It may take me a bit of time, I may not be able to meet for a few weeks, but I make it a point to engage. So many of us remember our own times as a student or young professional where letters, emails, calls, or texts went unanswered. We can choose to be different. And this rule isn't easy to enforce with 3 boys under 6 running around trying to color the walls. But it's important. So I ask each of you today in the audience who has the privilege to be a mentor, especially to a younger Muslim lawyer, take the opportunity seriously. After clerking for Judge Lynn, I still had a passion for the judiciary. I had a wonderful experience clerking on the 5th Circuit for Judge Katharina Haynes. After that clerkship, I eventually lateraled to Shepard Mullen. Shepard is a great firm. I gained a lot of deposition and court experience that are invaluable to me now as a professor and in-house counsel. But by early 2022, I was burnt out. The pandemic had worn on me. We had suffered a tragic loss in our family. As a senior associate, responsibility had increased at work, while having 2 boys aged 3 and under during Ridge's psychiatry residency meant sleep and hobbies were at a premium. Teaching felt like a 4th job. I was in a rut I didn't know how to shake. I had spent the last 10 years chasing success. Success had meant big law firms, clerkships, high-profile cases, bonuses, prestige, accolades. But 2022 helped me look in the mirror and redefine what success meant to me. One summer day, I was playing catch with my oldest son Noah with one hand while answering emails with the other. For the first time in his life, he looked at me and said, "Dada, can you please put your phone down and just play with me?" That moment hit me like a ton of bricks. Ridja and I then found out we were expecting our 3rd son. She told me, "I know what you've been feeling, and I know you can't keep going like this." It was the first time in my legal career that I didn't have a plan or a goal to chase. After a lot of thought, I decided what was best for me was to retire from the practice of law once Isaiah was born. I truly did not intend to return. Many colleagues were confused. With your resume, you could be partner. Why don't you try X? And my favorite, you have so much potential. But those who know me understood. Mentors who I trusted reassured me that life is long and nonlinear, and having the courage to do what's best for you isn't easy. The next year brought a lot of clarity. I slept easy, I went to the gym, I made breakfast for my kids daily, and never once told them to hurry up in the morning. And after about 9 months off, I came to the realization I actually really did like being a lawyer. I missed the intellectual challenges and impacting my community positively using the law. Success just looked different now than it did before. Sometimes the universe sends you a sign. I hadn't even looked at a job application, but a recruiter reached out to me on LinkedIn with an in-house employment role that I'd be perfect for. Now I know that's the lawyer equivalent of a prince from a foreign country trying to contact you to send you $1 trillion. But this time the recruiter was right. AECOM's office is 10 minutes from my house. It was right next to my kid's school. The remote versus in-person split was completely up to me. And the attorney who I'd report to was friends with my mentor at Shepherd Mullen. My interview with Isabel Crosby, now my supervisor, was tough. She had a stern, serious face for most of it. She then asked what I had been up to for the last year. At that moment, I had a choice: worry about being judged or just be my genuine, authentic self. I chose to tell the truth, and her face lit up. Here we are, almost 2 years later. Who knows what the future will bring? Maybe I'll be a GC, a judge, run for office, or start a business. For right now, my job is challenging and substantive. I have a lot of responsibility. When an employee seeks a schedule accommodation during Ramadan, it comes to my desk. When an employee seeks time off to pray Jummah, it comes to my desk. But when the workday ends, it ends. I put my phone and computer down and am present. That's what success looks like right now. On Mondays, I teach and learn from the next generation of lawyers. On weekends, I coach soccer, I laugh with Rija, and I play flag football. I spend time with my parents and talk sports with my brothers. I seek to show my sons what is possible for a Muslim man in America. And these are my greatest successes yet. Thank you for your time today.